Colts are at a pivotal point in their season. They're sick of what they put on the field, and they think that their tenacity this week can be a turning point, especially with a renewed investment in Anthony Richardson. Do they beat the Jets on Sunday? Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right. Thanks for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. This is your daily podcast covering your Indianapolis Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this show is sponsored by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. What's up, everybody? This is Jake Arthur from HorseshoeHuddle.com. And today we are putting a bow on Colts Jets coverage. Not even something we've been able to pay a lot of attention to this week, just because the Colts are a soap opera. It has been as the Colts turn. After Sunday's game, it was Kenny Moore, Zaire Franklin, Julian Blackmon kind of shining a light on some guys maybe not taking things seriously and lacking, the preparation that it takes to be a successful team. So the leaders have really kind of grabbed things by the horns this week and turned things in a different direction. And then here we go again. Wednesday, the Colts make their next quarterback change. They pull Joe Flacco for Anthony Richardson. Basically, a couple week experiment that did not go well with Joe Flacco. Essentially, from what everything the Colts have said, they've just expected Anthony to grow more as a quarterback and, pay attention to the finer details and just raise everything he's doing to a higher standard. And they've seen him kind of grow leaps and bounds in the last couple weeks. Enough to where they're comfortable putting him back in. Now, of course, if Joe Flacco had been cooking and the team was winning and everything, I don't know if that move gets made quite yet. But it certainly feels like they were looking for more of a reason to put Anthony Richardson back in at some point. Otherwise, the hard stance they'd been taking for the past couple weeks of it's Joe the rest of the time, it just kind of fell flat. But nonetheless, it's Anthony Richardson back in there. Personally, I don't expect this to be like a quick fix all for everything. Like there's going to be mistakes made by this team and everything. But, if Anthony is paying a lot more attention to the finer details and things like that, maybe we see not such crazy, a big difference between the highs and the lows. Obviously 10 of 32 is about as low as you can get. But you don't have to be Superman either. Let's just get like normal, adequate quarterback play as a passer. And then, use your athleticism as a runner, which is something that not many other guys in the NFL can do. So that's kind of what the Colts are looking for right now. As far as the team goes, and, they've got a game this Sunday, obviously, against the Jets out at MetLife. The Colts are 4-6, which is an ugly record. You never want to be under 500 2 games, especially at any point in the season, let alone the midway point. But they're only a game back of the final AFC playoff spot. The AFC is not super strong this year. So they're a game back of the Broncos, and they're technically 2 back from the Texans for the lead in the AFC South, but it's more like 3 or so games because the Texans have swept them this year. So the Colts really got to control their own fate. They got to start winning now, especially a winnable game like the Jets. Preseason expectations for the Jets were obviously a lot higher with Aaron Rodgers coming back and the cast of characters he has around him, but they have just mightily underwhelmed. They already fired their head coach. Things not going well there, so this is an incredibly winnable game for the Colts. Fast forward, they have the Detroit Lions coming up. I don't think the confidence factor in that one is very high. So they have to take advantage of these ones, especially, in recent memory, we've seen them. They really probably should have beat the Bills or, at some point, even with average quarterback play, they probably could have won that one. They were in a decent spot against the Vikings as well, other than the offense. So if they could get the offense to just play normally or just like an average offense, the defense has been doing its part. So we'll see how that goes. Offensively, Michael Pittman Jr. is back. He had a back injury that kept him out last week. During the brief open portion of practice that was, open to media today, Friday, I think Pittman was moving around pretty well. He has been a full participant in practice every day this week. That's the first time he hasn't missed any practice time since week 5. So Pittman Jr., that week off last week seems to have done him a little bit well. Obviously, Anthony Richardson is back into the lineup. Bernhard Raimann is out at left tackle. He's got a knee injury. So that puts Matt Gonzalez back into the starting rotation at left tackle. Gonzalez coming in for relief of Raimann last week when Raimann left, and I think it was the first half. Didn't look great, but, they've had a full week to prepare. Raimann hasn't practiced at all this week, and he had some protective stabilizing equipment on his leg today. It looked like a knee brace and a sleeve on his leg as well on his left side as he was walking out just to watch practice today. So Bernie's out. Gonzalez is in. With that, I do wonder if the Colts will use more 12 personnel, have multiple tight ends there to help Gonzalez out a little bit. We saw that a couple weeks ago, and it meant kind of diminished playing time a little bit for the receivers. You didn't see Josh Downs as much, and you just didn't see like the huge workloads for all the receivers that you normally would. So I'm curious if the Colts are going to do that this week. For the Jets side of it, with injuries, linebacker C.J. Mosley's out with a neck injury, and starting defensive tackle Solomon Thomas has got a knee injury. He's questionable. Some kind of eye-opening stats for the Jets defense here. They're second against the pass. I mean, obviously, they got DJ Reed, they got Sauce Gardner. Of course, they are third in sacks, which is good. But then when I look further into it, the Jets have 15 guys on defense with a share of a sack this year. That's crazy. It's only the midway point, and they've already got everybody getting in on the party. But then you look at kind of the low part of the Jets defense. They're 25th against the run and 29th in takeaways. For a defense that is second against the pass and third in sacks, they only have 2 interceptions this year. They're not taking the ball away, and they're not stopping the run very well either. So I think that's a pretty clear recipe for a Colts offense. It's easy to take care of the ball. Like, just don't make boneheaded decisions. You saw a bunch of the things that Joe Flacco did last week. Don't do that. I mean, if a ball bounces off a receiver's hands, or it's tipped or something, or a defensive player gets like a really nice, strip sack or something, there's only so much you can do about that. That's just fate. But don't throw it right into the defender's hand. Like, basically everything Flacco did turning the ball over last week, don't do that. So if the Colts can just take care of the ball at a normal clip and run the ball with their star running back and freak athlete quarterback, then I think they might be okay. Now, obviously, the Jets are going to allocate resources to that because they have a very clear area to attack with going against an offense with a young quarterback that has not been passing the ball well. So the Jets are probably going to spell out to try and stop Jonathan Taylor and make Anthony Richardson pass the ball, which they've done a very good job defending the pass this year. But if it was so easy to stop the run this year, then they probably would have done it. So we'll see how that goes. I think the Colts, it's got to be at the forefront of their mind to try and establish Jonathan Taylor. And I'm also very interested to see, this was a 2-week timeout for Anthony Richardson, all based on getting him to learn things and get into the details. Well, what has Shane Steichen learned over these last couple of weeks as well? Has he changed anything? I mean, all the onus has been put on Anthony Richardson to kind of, pick up the pace a little bit and start paying a little more attention. Has Shane adjusted the way that he's going to call games for Anthony? I think that's going to be very interesting. I think it's an opportunity for them to kind of view things through a new lens, see what was not working, and see what were the strengths of Anthony, even going back to last year, because I think everyone can say you're looking at kind of 2 different players. Anthony was so much more effective last year than he has been this year. Take a renewed look at this thing and just lean into his strengths. We know at this point you don't have to throw a ton on his plate. If you have to bring his development along slowly and just like dumb the game down and then branch out from there and put on little bits and pieces as time goes on, I think that's the way to do it. Lean into it and accentuate his strength and make him an effective player first, and then worry about, adding all of the finer details onto it afterward. I think that's the best way for them to get the most out of this guy that they spent a top 5 draft pick on. So coming up next, we'll look at the flip side of this thing. What does the Colts defense look like against this Aaron Rodgers-led offense that has pretty much underwhelmed this year? All right, with big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. We've all been there. But with Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. Cell phone bills are one of the worst parts of adulting, along with like your cable and internet bills and everything. You agree to one thing at signing, and then magically it seems like every month there's a new higher price, whether it's by pennies or a few dollars or whatever. You're just like, how does this keep going up all the time? I personally, when I get notifications of my cable bills and everything, I'm like, how does this keep happening? But that doesn't happen with Mint Mobile. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with a premium wireless plan starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts, because that's another kind of boogeyman about changing providers, changing phones is, can I keep my number? Can I keep all my contacts? Yada, yada. Not a problem with Mint Mobile. So ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. $45 upfront payment required, which is equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabits on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, y'all, and get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You can just kind of think of it as your betting hub. FanDuel has this one. It's got the Jets as 3.5-point favorites. Let them know what you think. I mean, obviously, it's probably going to be a little bit of a struggle fest. The NFL decided no thank you to this being Sunday Night Football. They moved it to 1 p.m. They might have wanted to change it to Friday at 10 a.m. if they really could have. But let them know what you think. Do the Colts have a better shot than FanDuel is giving indications? Go to FanDuel.com and let them know. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, the Colts defense, which has really been doing the heavy lifting in recent weeks. Gus Bradley's group has definitely done enough to win games, but the offense has not really done its part. And, eventually the dam has broken for the Colts defense late in games because they just have been on the field too much. If I remember correctly, when we had the conference call with, Gus Bradley and Jim Bob Cooter, the coordinators on Tuesdays, I think Gus said it was like the Colts defense has been on the field an equivalent of like 2 more games than normal because of the discrepancy in snap counts from the Colts defense and offense. So there's a ton of stress being put on the Colts defense right now because they're just always on the field. So you got to give them credit for what they've been able to do so far. Pretty clean bill of health for them. EJ Speed is questionable with a knee injury. Been in and out of practice this week. So keep an eye on that. He's obviously one of the big playmakers in the middle. There's things the Colts could do, obviously, to clean things up. Like Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed haven't been perfect, but they have been able to make some plays in both the run and the pass games recently. 2 weeks ago, Zaire got a pick. Last week, EJ Speed got a pick. They've been able to kind of seek and destroy on some of those designed screens, which has been obviously that I think that's huge. But yeah, if speed can't go, probably see more Grant Stewart in there because Jalen Carlisle is still out. It'll be interesting to see what they do there, but I think Stewart is probably the guy with the most to gain if speed is out. As for the Jets offense and their injuries, Tyron Smith is out again with a neck injury, one of the starting tackles. Devontae Adams, obviously Aaron Rodgers' partner in crime. He hasn't been able to practice fully this week because he's got a wrist injury and had an illness early in the week. So he is listed as questionable. Even with him and Garrett Wilson, the Jets offense has been underwhelming and has not lived up to everybody's preseason billing. And that's just the passing game. They've in the running game, they got Breece Hall and, Braylon Allen. It's just an offense overall that's just not doing what people thought they would. And they ranked 26th overall in overall offense and in scoring. They're 30th running the ball. Again, that's with Braylon Allen and Breece Hall. And PFF has them almost near the bottom on their defense in tackling, 29th. So they're one of the worst tackling teams in the league. Again, they're near the bottom of the league in run defense as well. Jonathan Taylor is one of the best running backs in the NFL at breaking tackles. He creates a lot of his own yards. So if the Colts are able to get things going with Jonathan Taylor, this could turn into one of those huge performances. The 150-yard performances from Jonathan Taylor. He's been getting some of those 100-yard games lately, but the Colts have not been able, or I don't want to say not been able, but they've had stretches where they've kind of decided they need to pass more or just not used Taylor throughout the game like you would hope. We've seen throughout Taylor's career, he gets 25, 30 carry games and they use him throughout the game and he wears out the defense and is basically Superman and single-handedly wins the Colts games. We haven't seen that this year, and I think we've seen that it's there. He's capable of it. He's having big performances. It's just kind of in an abridged workload. So I would like to see if the Colts can get him going early, just like he did last week. He had like 3 explosive runs early in the game. Keep it going the whole time. Like, make this a fast game. Kill the clock throughout the game. Make Aaron Rodgers have to, do some things that he's not been able to do this year. And that's connect with Adams if he's out there and Wilson and Conklin and keep that passing game going. It's just been a really clunky unit this year. And, something the Colts have been able to do, they're not the most ferocious pass rush, but we saw them, get Josh Allen moving around a little bit last week. Really, since DeForest Buckner has been back, they've kind of turned up the heat in the defensive front. And I think if you can do that against a Jets offensive line that's banged up like usual, Aaron Rodgers has been making uncharacteristic decisions and throws this year. It could be his age. It could just be, whatever. But he's making interceptions this year that he didn't used to. It used to be incredibly rare for him to throw interceptions back when he was with the Packers, but he's already got 7 at the midway point this year. And, some of them have been just like dumb luck ones, bouncing off Garrett Wilson's chest, for instance. But like a lot of them are just bad throws, either bad decisions or bad throws. And, if the Colts defense can put some pressure on him, we could see him do that again. I mean, they'll take the ball away. I mean, you saw Kenny Moore with his interception last week, EJ Speed with his interception. They'll take the ball away. I mean, the Bills were a team last week. That offense ranked best in the league at protecting their quarterback. Josh Allen was the least sacked quarterback in the league. They got to him twice, technically. But, I mean, the sacks were not the best stat in that game because they were, like, right at the line of scrimmage, but they put pressure on him. And then they made him turn over the ball a couple times, which, again, they had the best turnover differential in the league. So if the Colts could force the Bills into being uncharacteristically, poor in a couple areas, then I have full confidence they can do it against the Jets. I just really think the Colts offense has to live up to their end of the bargain to not put so much strain on the defense. So we'll see how all that goes. I think we all hope that the Colts defense is not a cure-all for, this Jets offense that on paper should be able to be explosive and make big plays on the ground and through the air. And, the Colts defense, I hope they can keep it up. I think they deserve to win a game where they've done really well and the offense actually helped complete the game. Like Gus Bradley and this group kind of deserve their kudos right now. And you would hope that it comes in the form of a win. So coming up here in a moment, I asked for your guys' hot takes for this game. So we'll go over some of those hot takes and I'll let you know who I think is going to win this one. All right, so let's go ahead and start with some of these Twitter users. This one is from Me, You, and the Shoe. He said, this is the game that Anthony Richardson goes off. You heard it here first. Mark my words, 359 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. Believe it. So I think we're going for hot takes, and that's good. I think what would be even more impressive about that is that New York does have a legitimately good pass defense. And you're saying that Anthony's going to go bonkers through the pass, through the passing game. Maybe. We'll see. The 359 yards, if you connect on some of those big shots to Pierce. AD Mitchell's coming on, just had his kind of welcoming party last week. It's possible. I think he'd be more likely to get like 359 total yards of offense because I think he could run the ball in this one a little bit, maybe 50, 60 yards. We've seen him get to like 56 yards, 60 yards a couple times in his career so far. Maybe 250 to 300 passing yards. So I think that's very doable. The 3 touchdowns definitely doable as well. I cannot believe for the life of me that he only has 1 rushing touchdown this year. That's crazy. He's got catching up to do, and we all know he can do it. So if the Colts can get into the red zone, we know that he's deadly running the ball in the red zone. If all of last year is any indicator, I think Steichen's just got to pull the trigger on it. Like, you got a guy that can do it, but you really haven't been doing it. So let's, get back to it. It's effective. Next up is from Mike Hopkins. Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson combined for 250 rushing yards. I like this one. I don't know if it's going to happen necessarily to that degree. But again, if Anthony gets that 50, 60, maybe 70 yards rushing, you're still looking at like between 150 and 200 yards for Taylor. But I think if the Colts can really get Jonathan going and they stick with it throughout the game and don't feel like they have to start passing the ball all the time, getting those drives where, you really a couple drives in a row where you're throwing the ball like 6 times, calm down, run the ball. It's probably going to be effective. I like it. I'll say between 200 and 250 rushing yards. But yeah, the 250 plus, you're bold. I like it. And, this is a recipe for them to do it this week, but we'll see. Next up from Colts fan Cole, he said a Colts tight end catches a touchdown, which that seems fiery, but listen, he supports it here. He said Richardson has not thrown a touchdown to a tight end since last season's Rams game. And then he gives the betting odds on it. Kylan Granson at plus 1,200, Mo Alley Cox at plus 1,700, and Drew Ogletree at plus 2,500, and then Will Mallory at plus 2,500. Cole said he is taking Kylan Granson for the touchdown. I like that one because that seems like it could happen in any game. But like you said, it hasn't. Anthony doesn't look for the tight ends a ton, at least not this season very much. And they got the guys that can do it. They clearly don't have like the huge playmaking tight end on the roster. But these are all guys who, when given the opportunity to make plays in the passing game this year, I think they've largely done it. They're just not a huge part of the passing game. This next one is from a Locked On Colts insider. Said, my bold prediction is the Locked On Colts team moves to blue sky by the bye week. I'll settle for just getting Zach over to Threads to start out with. I don't know much about blue sky yet. I am behind when it comes to social media. I don't want to say behind. I stubbornly will drag my feet over there maybe at some point. I would love to get off Twitter eventually, but blue sky, if you guys think it's awesome, keep hounding Zach and I about it. Maybe we'll go over there. And then he continues. Also, the Colts secondary holds Devontae Adams to under 75 yards and has at least 1 pick. Devontae Adams obviously questionable, so we don't know if he's going to play or not. So if Adams doesn't play, we'll just scrub that name and put Garrett Wilson in there. I like that. They don't have their Devontae Adams eraser in there with Juju Brents, but yeah, this obviously isn't the same Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams connection we are used to seeing. So holding him to under 75 yards and the Colts getting an interception, I mean, I think it's pretty likely, you could even say. There's nothing about the Jets passing game that is proven to be consistent or give you much confidence this year. And the Colts have guys on the defense that can get interceptions. So I like it, especially considering Rodgers is making it easier to intercept him these days rather than back with his Packers days. So I like it. I love the bold predictions. Keep them coming throughout the weekend. Let us know what you think. Now I will tell you what I'm thinking about this game. I am pretty apprehensive to have faith in the Colts yet. I definitely think their chances increase in this matchup with Anthony Richardson being back there, especially with how well the Jets are at getting after the quarterback. Joe Flacco probably would have had a million problems in this matchup. Because like the Jets defense right now is solely set up to stop the passing game. And we know Joe ain't escaping much pressure. So Anthony gives them a chance. I think this week has hopefully really lit a fire under them. Again, because we all know about the post-game comments after last week's game from Kenny Moore, Zaire Franklin, Julian Blackmon. The leaders and the captains in there have really stepped up this week. Anthony Richardson is back in there. They feel like he's at least acting responsible enough to get that job back. You know, there was a meeting with the captains and Anthony Richardson. I mean, Richardson is a captain already, so it was, you know, a meeting among the leaders of the team, and just kind of laid it all out there. And it sounds like the air was cleared this week, and guys who were maybe holding things back with other guys in the whole locker room, it sounds like accountability is starting. I asked Shane Steichen today, you know, given all these things, do you feel like there's a different energy in the building this week? And he said, yes, they've had a hell of a week of practice. And, you know, you can kind of tell by how Shane answers things or his tone, you know, what's just coach speaking, what he really feels. And I felt in his answer that he really feels the Colts had a really good week of practice and that they are determined to turn things around this week. So we'll see. Because of their opponent, I'm a little more comfortable giving them a win this week. I have the Colts going 23-20 on the road. They got to get this thing turned around at some point. And I mean, if they're going to keep on losing, at least it's with the young quarterback and you're finding something out about your future there. But we're going to save the losing thoughts for, you know, Lions week. In this one, I think the Colts can win it. I have, again, 23-20. I think offensively they get the ball going. I'm going to hope that Shane has kind of reevaluated how he calls games for Anthony and really leans into Anthony's strengths. I hope Anthony takes some of the layups and, you know, settles down a little bit and just steps into throws and maybe irons some of the errant throws out, because he obviously is well below average when it comes to, has been well below average when it comes to just making the easy throws. Even if it's like an open shot downfield, it looks harder than it needs to be. So the receivers need to step up as well, because, you know, before Anthony was benched, especially in that Texans game, we saw him throwing some darts downfield, some great throws that the receivers were just not coming down with. So this is a group effort to turn it around. Anthony, you know, hopefully this was a wake-up call, but also for his teammates, hopefully they can make it so they can make plays for him as well. Because I think we all know this offense just has so much more potential to it than what we've seen. The offense has been a nightmare in recent weeks and for a lot of games this season. So hopefully they can get it turned around. I say they do. It's hard for me to bury Aaron Rodgers quite yet, so I'll give him 20 points in this one. But the Colts win a close one out at MetLife Stadium, 23-20. Everyone let me know what you got here in the comments as well, who you think is going to win. And with that, thank you all for making Locked On Colts your first listen of the day. Now, for your second listen, go find the new Locked On NFL, now with 2 shows every day. First, you've got the madman Tyler Rowland. He's going to kick off your morning with a double shot of NFL espresso, and then stop by the barbershop with our guy Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, if you want to become a Locked On Colts insider and chat with us directly and get the inside scoop, follow the link in our show notes. These last few weeks has been a great opportunity, and the insiders have been taking advantage of, asking us what we think about what's going on with this whole thing. So if you want to just gab about the Colts and, try and get the dirt and see what's really going on, join the insider program. We'll let you know what we think. If you don't already, follow at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at Zach Hicks 2 on Twitter. We're also on TikTok and Instagram, and be sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. We would love those ratings and reviews as well. Those help immensely. And with that, you guys have a great day, a great weekend, and we'll see you guys right after the game.